My girlfriend was mutilated as a child, and I don't know how to please her.
My GF is from Egypt, and sadly female genital mutilation is common. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and it is pretty much a form of torture turned medical procedure. The purpose? To make my GF go through what she is going through now, severe depression and a great struggle to feel pleasure. She does everything to please me, but she doesn't feel much. Sex is painful, as she doesn't feel anything orally. She pretty much tenses up every time because of her traumatic experience, almost like she is bracing for the most horrendous pain she ever felt in her life. She has anxiety. It took her so much to even feel comfortable showing me or telling me. I'm Hispanic, and generally speaking Hispanic women are more open towards me about what gives them pleasure, and they are more outgoing to get it or express it. Not all, but if you hang around enough you will find more sexual confidence. I want to make her feel good, but she herself wouldn't know what would make her feel good. She is a great person and I won't dump her for that, but I'm eager in helping her enjoy her sex life and help her depression. I second the advice of going to therapist. It's serious trauma. For the time being, I'd suggest you forget
about her genital area and focus on other areas.
Neck, breasts, back, etc.
Kiss her or give her massage, caress her if you see she enjoys that. Don't make it about orgasm, more like spending enjoyable time together. My intuition tells me it can be a good approach. But again, I'm not sex therapist. The starting point is an appointment with a GYN to find out if there's any currently correctable things that can be done for her. Obviously she can't and won't ever feel normal pleasure if her clit has been removed, but if she's healed badly from the original mutilation, surgery now might be able to reduce her physical pain. You're both going to need a bunch of counseling. For her trauma it's obvious, but also for you in that if you stay with her, you're making a choice to likely never get the normal validation you would get from a woman who is turned on and into you. This is a harder thing to deal with than you realize. She's likely terrified you'll eventually throw in the towel and dump her because of what was done to her. Until you get an all clear from a GYN, I'd not attempt intercourse at all. Lube and lots of lube, with extra lube, may well have to be a thing into the future as well. Sex is painful, as she doesn't feel anything orally. She pretty much tenses up every time because of her traumatic experience, almost like she is bracing for the most horrendous pain she ever felt in her life. I want to make her feel good, but she herself wouldn't know what would make her feel good. Start at a 1 before working your way up to a 10, on anything. Even the things you're doing now, like oral. If she has to brace for it, then there's a good chance she's doing it for you, which is very sweet of her, but she should feel good too. What does she actually like? Kissing, breast fondling, etc., etc.? Can she actually relax and enjoy kissing? The fact that she's comfortable showing you is a good first step. The next step is to help her enjoy herself, not just be naked in front of you. What are her turn-ons? What does she fantasize about? Since sex is painful, there are 2 things that will help. What parts of her don't cause her pain? Obviously it could take time for her to open up about these things, but it is important to know these things so you can work on finding out what feels good after. Different versions of FGM will leave you with different anatomy to work with. Since she tenses up, don't rush anything. Let her know if you're gonna do something like oral or fingering, that if she tenses up, you're not gonna rush it. You'll start off slow until she is ready for more. If she tenses up, then you won't take things further until she relaxes, or even better, is asking you for more. With all that said, the people advising professional help are right. You can be supportive as a boyfriend, but only a therapist is properly equipped to help her heal from her trauma. My comment was previously deleted due to the use of a certain word. Anyway, here's what I said. As a female that had been mutilated, it really depends on the severity of it. Me on the other hand is still quite lucky to still have most to work with. To an extent I feel where she's coming from, however I've never had an issue with it personally. I don't even have to say how wrong and backwards that is. But hearing what you have just said, I think it's best to seek professional help or therapists in regards to her mental health that caused by it the tensing. If it does psychically caused problems, then there are doctors out there that are out to help undo the procedure. Obviously talking about this to your girlfriend can't be easy as a man of different background. I think if I was her, obviously not her, so this is probably a hit or miss advice. I'd try to explore more of myself, with toys etc. And once I know how to please myself, I can guide anyone to please me. It's habit like that self-love before loving others type of thing isn't. And for you, maybe in a caring, loving and sensitive way, try and voice these options to her so that you guys can improve the bedroom sittish. I'm sorry to hear about your girlfriend. I've also being mutilated and it's such a traumatic thing to go through, especially when you're a child and the people you love do that to you. It's a beautiful thing she did tell you about her FGM experience, thought, because that means she truly trusts you and feels safe and comfortable around you. Me and my boyfriend got intimate not long ago and I've yet to tell him because deep down I'm still traumatized and scared to let anyone know. I feel like damaged goods, which is true since I'm lacking some bits down there sadly, who will never be able to orgasm with a partner. I'm trying to get therapy so I can better deal with the trauma, so I would definitely suggest that for your girlfriend to do alone and sort out her own trauma. Couple sex therapy could also prove to be beneficial. I hope the best for you and your girlfriend. I'm sending her all my love because I know how depressing going through FGM can make you. As pretty much everyone noted, this is sex therapist GYN territory. Having said that, if I was in your situation, I'd try to get her out of what is probably her current frame of mind, her failing to please you, and would try to sexually tease her non-genitally and get her in a she wants you to please her frame. Maybe that could help with the tensing. I would agree with just some snork. I didn't not experience the same type of trauma. But being a female who has experienced trauma, it is not always about the orgasm as it is the emotional feeling, connection. Yes, sex feels great for me, but so do other forms of touch and intimacy. Try to explore those things with her. It might be a treat for her, but also for you. Also, if you really want to commit to her, I too also recommend a therapist. It's only healthy. Good luck and thank you for being such an understanding man. This is about her mental health, not your ego. The best thing you can do for her is not turn it into a challenge for yourself. The more things you try or the more determined you appear, the more it causes her to focus on her disfigured genitals. As others have said, professional help would be her friend and yours. Have her see a doctor and therapist. There are sometimes surgical interventions that can be done to help her feel pleasure. She also needs a therapist trained in the emotional issues she is facing. You are great to want to please her. Hopefully some medical interventions can help you both. While I think you're coming from a caring place, please keep in mind that this is her trauma, her body, her pleasure that you're talking about. I understand that you want to please her, like any good partner wants to please their lover, but she ultimately needs to be the one who is comfortable and ready to begin with any kind of therapy, if that's the route she wants to go. I strongly encourage you to seek therapy for yourself, too, as it can be a blow to your ego to have a partner react negatively to your sexually advances. It will be harder for you to help her if you don't have adequate support for yourself, so keep that in mind. But, anyway, enough about you. I live in an area of the U.S. with a large number of East African refugees and immigrants, so we have an extensive number of resources for folks who have experienced the kind of trauma your girlfriend has, but in practice, sometimes it can be hard to connect with the right resources. If she is ready, encourage her to reach out to a local immigration center for referrals to resources for both a gynecologist and a sex therapist who actually have experience with this kind of situation and, especially for the gyno, the specific type of FGM that she experienced. Honestly, even if she's not ready for therapy, I can't recommend the gyno enough. There are real, physical reasons that having a gyno who is familiar with FGM can be helpful, even beyond sexual complications. If she's not ready for therapy, I think the first thing to do is resolve that penis in vagina sex, or any sex involving her vulva, may not be the best option for you to, at least for now, accept that, and then talk to her about it. Assure her that you love her, if you do, and want her to enjoy intimacy with you, and that means learning intimacy on her terms. On a personal note, I have debilitating flashbacks in certain sex positions sometimes, so I have spent decades of trial and error with my partners finding what works and what doesn't for me. She may have a similar situation and it may not always be apparent that she's been triggered, so the best bet is just to keep checking in periodically, but especially if you're ever unsure, take the time to check in with her thoroughly, with more than just simple answers. Make sure that she knows, and that you have committed to take the time to explore without judgment. Understand and accept that you may be in the middle of sex or even very close to completion when she has a bad reaction to something, not even necessarily because of something you've done, and suddenly you will need to be willing and able to put on the brakes. This is another situation where therapy for you can be helpful. It is easy to become resentful of this, but she isn't to blame for the trauma inflicted upon her or her triggered responses, and a therapist can help if you find yourself struggling with this. Take the time to explore other erogenous zones, commonly her neck, breasts, thighs, anus, perineum, more uncommonly her wrists, back of thighs, knees, ears, and hands, feet. And, keep an open line of communication. Ask how everything feels and be open to constructive criticism. When you find something that she likes which you also enjoy doing for her, tell her. Tell her how good it feels for you when you can feel how turned on something makes her. She has a lifetime of negative reinforcement, of her own touches even being bad for her sometimes, so it will take patience and practice and positive reinforcement for her body to learn to view sexual advances as good and not a threat. I am a victim of FGM, type 2, so I 100% relate to your girlfriend. Not sure which type she got, but I think that would play into how she responds to pleasure and pain. She definitely needs to see a therapist for the depression and anxiety aspect. As for pleasure, please do more foreplay. Kissing, neck kisses, nipple play, fingering, massages, oral etc. This would really help her to relax, and she most likely will feel pleasure from at least one of those things. Some lube and fingering would probably help her too, as it'd be less painful, and G-spot stimulation could get her going. These are things I've explored with and have all helped me find pleasure in my sex life. Thank you for being so sweet and wanting to help her out. I wish to find a man in the future who would do the same for me. Best of luck to you both. Would also like to add that if she has type 3 infibulation, even though it's not common in Egypt, there is surgery she could look into for restoration of her clitoris. She may need medical help and maybe sex therapy. If she's very interested in sex, she can try and bring it up to a gyno in ways of how can she have sex comfortably. During sex, try to keep a scale of pain for her. Ask her a 1 to 10 and adjust as needed for her. Until you're able to see if pleasing her vaginally is an option, try pleasing her mentally and emotionally during sex. Soft kisses, holds, and caresses mixed with words of love, lust, and just how she makes you feel. Because for some people, sex isn't just the physical orgasm, but the closeness of feeling one another physically and emotionally. Hope this helps. I think a sex therapist is a good idea, and making an appointment to a gynecologist. Possibly need to look into some kind of toy or vibrator? Maybe the sensation from the toy would be enough to have her feel at least something. Massages are a good way also to touch someone sexually. Maybe look into some kind of heated massage oil? This is terrible. I can't imagine what it would be like not to experience sexual pleasure and/or orgasms, and it is sick she has to go through that. You sound like a really caring boyfriend. Yes, I agree with the rest. See a sex therapist. Also IDK the whole story, but a quick thought and suggestion would be anal penetration, as some girls can come through anal or at least feel pleasure from it, and the clitoris, depending on how much was mutilated, has an internal part inside that can be slant and parallel or close to the rectum, which is a reason of climaxing from it or something like that. There's pleasure on the rectum itself too. But I am not completely sure how all this works out in your story, so just thought I should share some vague info that may help. Good luck. You sound like a great guy. People can learn to experience orgasmic pleasure from other regions of their body besides genitals. It takes time and practice though. Personally, I've had an orgasm from a long kissing and make-out session with my husband kissing my neck and earlobes. I saw in a comment that weed relaxes her and gets her in the mood. Why don't you have a nice date night, set up the bedroom romantically in whatever you think she'd like, candles, new sheets, whatever, but on some relaxing music, and just concentrate on everything but her pussy. Take it slow. Undress her. Kiss her lips and neck. I get a huge rush from nibbles and soft bites on the back of my shoulders, between my shoulder and neck.
There's some kind of nerve there, OMG.
Lay her down and stroke her softly all over. Just pay close attention to her signals and see what she likes. Don't overwhelm her with questions. Do you like that? Do you like this? That's okay once or twice, but mostly pay attention to her signals. Does she gasp if you pinch her nipples lightly? What makes her make a little noise? You don't mention if she gets naturally lubricated, and that probably depends on the exact type of FGM she had. So it might not be a reliable guide. Pay more attention to her face, breathing, etc. She is probably not going to come the first, second, or third time you guys do this, but she will definitely like it, and you will too. She might never orgasm, but lots of women enjoy sex and get tons of pleasure without orgasming. Believe her if she says she enjoyed herself. Do you know how extensive her removal was? Did they remove her clitoris fully or partially? Did they remove her labia or reposition it? I agree that she should visit a gynecologist and a sex therapist. But I'm curious, if the removal is partial, what her chances of feeling pleasure from sex are. If you look at a diagram of the clitoris, it is shaped a bit like a wishbone. There is the glans, that is likely the part that was removed or partially removed, but there is also the crus, which may still be intact, that she could get some pleasure from if she worked past the trauma and then were comfortable for you to stimulate the crus orally. You don't want to lick the middle where the glans was. I could see this being uncomfortable if there is scar tissue there. You want to lick the sides where the crus is located under the skin. For me personally, that part of my clitoris is sensitive in a good way, and I think it's likely she still has that part. Otherwise, women are very mental when it comes to sex. I think playing with her breasts, kissing her neck, light massage on her back, caressing her thighs are all great ideas. Focus on other things that bring sexual stimulation rather than a traditional approach, and be sure she is comfortable every step of the way. Don't make it about the finale, make it all about the journey. Start with slow kissing and let the tension build. Slowly and naturally. Touch her face, hold her hand. Work your way to place your hand on her waist. Let her set the pace and don't overthink it. This is just kissing and slight touching at this point. Tell her she's gorgeous, that you love her. That's as far as you should go for now. Another time. If she feels okay with it, start off the same as above. Kiss her body with clothes on. Kiss her hands, arms, forehead, but stay away from her pants area. She might feel pressure or anxiety. Don't make it sexual, rather be caring and loving. Those are powerful emotions that might make her feel butterflies in her tummy. They've been ripped out by a horrific trauma that love and patience and therapy might be able to bring back slowly. At any point, if it makes her uncomfortable, stop. Reassure her if she worried. And don't pressure her to even do this as she seems uncomfortable. I'm only suggesting these things in a natural setting, like if you guys are kissing already. Don't set out to do this or it may feel forced. Have fun, and I hope she does as well. Chase butterflies. Nothing further for now, and hopefully you might catch one. I'm 22F. My mother and aunties got genitally mutilated, and thank God my parents decided to keep me intact. From my understanding, the pleasure zones are taken out to prevent female sexual liberty. She may not feel pleasure on the outside, since it's mostly scar tissue with no sensitivity. Like I said, it's not something that happened to me, but one thing I know, my mother has always found it hard to hold in pee, so to say, does she not feel any pleasure inside? I can understand the pain since the whole entrance has been redesigned. When I hear of the practice, it sickens me. Hits close to home. No one suggested trying anal sex? I'm no expert, so don't know if the removal she had also affected that. If it's a trauma issue, then therapy is the answer. If it's physical and a failure to feel pleasure cause of the removal done, try somewhere where there are nerve endings to feel pleasure. Hope I'm not coming across as callous, but I had an Arab girl who wouldn't let me anywhere near her vagina, but she was okay with anal sex, said it would do till she got married. It worked a treat. That said, anal sex needs study to fully enjoy it. There are several types of FGM, but clitoral is the most common. While I don't know the situation fully, I would guess that a portion of her clitoris has been removed, particularly the visible, accessible part with all of its nerve endings, so whether she has vaginal or anal sex, it'll be painful. The issue is most likely not that it hurts for him to enter her since labia are fine, it's that she has no pleasure button to rub before or while they're having sex. I know I wouldn't want to have sex if I couldn't rub my clit at the same time, not throughout of course, but at points here and there to help myself stay turned on and wet. Most women are the same. Very few women apparently can come from intercourse without stimulating their clit in addition. From my days on feminism blogs, I know for a fact there are support resources for people who've experienced genital mutilation from both religious abuse and intersex medical abuse. If you do some searches on the topic, you'll likely find support groups and literature. You can also contact advocates directly for their advice and guidance on where to find the best supports for your girlfriend. There are sexologists and therapists who are experienced with or specialize in this kind of trauma. And you can access therapy online in America. And some places will charge along a sliding scale, work pro bono, or help you sign up for Medicaid. This is such a hard time to be depressed because there are many factors in our lives that can quickly amplify the depression. I would urge you to talk to her about the depression as a related but separate issue. Even if she doesn't want to address the female genital mutilation now in therapy, she deserves access to treatments for the depression illness, could help her manage her symptoms. First, I am so sorry about everything that happened to your girlfriend. No one deserves that. It seems like the good idea would be to go to a sexologist and/or psychologist, whether you two together, or her alone. It's important to talk. Maybe try to focus on her whole body, not just genitals or common erogenic zones. Try to kiss her, to touch her where it is comfortable for her. Ask her what, if anything, feels good. Don't try too hard to make her come or something. Focus more on finding what she likes, where she likes to be touched or kissed. Definitely seek a therapist for her. As for you, emphasize to her that your sexual connection isn't about getting to an orgasm, it's about relaxing and letting yourselves go in the simple bliss of each other's touch. Spend some time not totally naked and learn how to give a brilliant massage. It's a great first step in her learning to relax and enjoy your touch without any following up with sex. Not even letting her reward you. Let her see sensual touch as not transactional, and not genital focused. You can help retrain her sensuality to experience the pleasure of the other 99% of her body outside her vagina, and by doing so help her discover that eventually her vagina is just one more part of her body you can love and where she can savor relaxation. Relaxation will lead to the release of old reflexes and hypervigilance, which will lead to pleasure, which will lead to a healthy sex life regardless of the limits of her genitals, because she'll have learned that with you every piece of her is an erogenous zone and every part of her can become one for you. Then you're both free. It'll demand patience, generosity and restraint on your part for a while and is gonna demand some effort and study. You seem to truly care though, so I bet you'll evolve in pretty heroic ways while developing these skills. Best of luck to you both. I agree with mainly firstly therapy. That would help so much with everything. And I'd also recommend anal. Anal really doesn't have to hurt at all and is super pleasurable. Just go really slowly and you can start with not even any penetration, just teasing the hole, and you slowly build up to a finger and finally sex when you get there. I literally recommend anal to every woman I meet that they should try it regardless of if they have this kind of issue. So that's my biggest recommendation. Other than that, everything everyone else has been saying sounds good too. ESOS on trauma. Why no creo que buscando ayuda acá vayas a sacar algo tbh. No sé de qué forma podrías ayudarla debido a que todos tienen formas distintas de superar un trauma. Algunos te dirán que yendo a un psicólogo para tratarlo, puede que alguno te diga que es algo que tiene que superar ella por su cuenta, y saber que otra cosa más. It's sad there's no answer for that honestly, but sometimes we can't do as much as we wish we could. Maybe time helps, maybe it doesn't. Support her is all you can do for now. Hope someday she overcomes her trauma and you two can have a nice and happily life. I'm so sorry for her pain. I wonder if there are natural remedies or hormones that can help with stimulation? Also, I second the trauma therapy suggestion. Sometimes women that haven't even been through something like this cannot achieve orgasm when mentally you have some kind of block. And I think there may be other ways she can feel loved other than sexual pleasure. Just loving and showing her understanding might be even more stimulating than sex is for anyone else. The effect of female genital mutilation, FGM, type 1 and 2, is more mental than physical. She should go through therapy. Mostly in Egypt it is type 1 where clitoris is still intact but without covering, hood. Or type 2 where clitoris is removed, however, remnants of clitoris are usually present. Therapy should make her more confident about herself and more open to explore herself with you. Simply to feel safe, love herself and love her body. And older studies found that women who were mutilated but didn't know about FGM had more pleasure during sex, to the degree that women hid their orgasms from their husbands due to culture. while those who knew about FGM with its harmful effects felt as victims and complained of more complications. This was in Sudan, where type 3, whole removal of clitoris and labias, is more common than Egypt. And please always make sure there is extra lubrication, whether by more foreplay or with lube. If they cut off only the external clit, there's still an internal clit that is way deeper than the external. Nipple stimulation can lead to orgasms in many people, but it doesn't always happen on the first try. Maybe you want to do some research and have a conversations out that. You can keep things sensual and have a conversation about oral, see if that's something that she's not comfortable with at the moment. I second the idea of her seeing a sex therapist, and sometimes you go as well. But let her talk about what she needs with them first, and then when she's ready for you to join that experience, go.
Thank you for watching. And if you are new, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Don't forget to like and comment. That will help us continue.